across the board has decimated these woke companies. $50 billion of market cap dropped just between Anheuser-Busch, Disney, and Target alone in the past 2 months. So I have never seen a more suicidal campaign from a company than doubling down on this.
What about PublicSQ? What are you guys seeing? The opposite?
Well, yeah, that $50 billion has to go somewhere. Like, that's the interesting thing, is that these boycotts are only effective if you can ultimately shift your lifestyle spending away to something else, which is why we exist. So we created the app so that if you're tired of Bud Light, if you're tired of Target, you can actually go to something else. So that's why when Bud Light toppled, we actually, $27 billion in market cap dropped. We saw an 800% increase in beer. When Target came out and did what they did, we released a Target shopping guide that actually drove our app to top 5 apps in the entire app store for a week across all genres. So anytime one of these cultural mediums for commerce decides to be insane, we're trying to be there to clean up the mess and provide an alternative so that you can actually shift your spending away. And what's happened is we've had some people that said, you know, I said that I was not going to go to Target for June, but I just couldn't imagine getting Target away from my life in its entirety. And now they're saying, I'm actually finding my toilet paper, paper towels, household cleaning products on PublicSQ, and I don't even need to do this anymore. And we have people asking us, can you open retail stores? Can we have this literally be a replacement from Target? So that's where we're going. But I think the success of PublicSQ is a sign of two things. One is that the boycotts are working and that people are tired of woke capital. That's number one. Number two is that people are actually hopeful enough to go the extra mile to do something different, because the worst indictment of our country and the economic state currently would be that if people either just kept shopping at these companies even though they hated them, and these companies obviously hate us in return, or the other thing, which is that these people basically, you know, boycott for a week and then lay off because we don't have any other options. Neither of those things are happening. People are actually shifting their spending away, and this is actually working, which is pretty incredible to watch.
I think Bud Light, this is why I made the joke about this guy being the secret hero, because what Bud Light did was shattered the dam. The cracks were forming, and then the CEO of Bud Light just took a sledgehammer to that thing, and the floodgates have erupted. And what happens is, for the longest time, regular people are scared. If they speak out, they will get canceled. They live in fear of this, especially younger people. Then people notice that Bud Light is tanking, and they think to themselves, whoa, if I say something, it's actually popular. Now people aren't scared anymore. Now they feel good. Now it feels good to go shop somewhere else. Now you post a video about how you're not going to Target, and what you get 1 million views. Yep. So there's even opportunists here who are going to jump on board. This is where I think the tide shifts, because the wokeness is falling into it's falling into the lame cultural space where it is becoming negative. It's not interesting. And you know, what is kind of interesting is if you look at like punk rock stuff, these guys were dressing in very, very weird ways that were supposed to be shocking to the average person. You had, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, film, Sid Vicious wore the swastika.
Yep.
Yeah.
The idea was to offend people, to be like, I'm not a part of your thing. Then all of a sudden, punk became cool, and it became mainstream, and it became multi-billion dollars. How things kind of go.
Underground has totally the actual underground has completely and totally disappeared in the world of the internet, because part of the underground used to be you had to physically go to places to find this music. You had to go to certain record stores. You had to go to certain places to buy certain magazines. You had to go to shows that were at certain locations. It wasn't presented to you and it wasn't given to you. So you had to put effort into.
You had to work for it.
You had to work for it, yeah.
Then those underground things became popular. And so here's what I think. For a period, you get this rebellious, anti-woke subculture pushing back on the corporations, on Disney, on Bud Light. Bud Light, the #1 brand. Like all trends in counterculture, they start to become more and more dominant because people who are passionate about these things, believe in them, don't give them up. And the average person just doesn't care. So what happens now? Bud Light went from #1 to #2. Modelo is now #1. And to be honest, Bud Light was always kind of a #1. Ha, it's very funny. I'm very funny. And now it's just crap. It always was. But this shows that regular people this counterculture is now becoming more and more dominant and moving into the mainstream space. My prediction is in a few years, we win.